Caseus, Jedi Apprentice. Chapter 5.
Don't crowd him, Corbyn. Give him some space.
Is he gonna be okay?
He'll live, but he's lucky. A few more seconds in there and he would have been beyond our help.
Caseus groaned, opening his eyes to find himself in the medical bay of the Jedi Temple, several devices attached to him, and an oxygen mask placed over his mouth and nose.
Caseus!
Corbyn went beside his friend.
Corbyn, that's enough. He's still very weak.
Master Takai walked over to the foot of his bed. Master, how long was I out?
Almost 2 days.
Caseus tried to sit up, still feeling the effects of the poison.
No. You stay still. You're in no shape to be up.
The Jedi, in the analysis room. What happened to them? Are they okay? I'm afraid one passed away before we could save him. Master Dravok entered from the other room. Master Suka's body was moved to the burial chamber. He has passed on into the Force. Caseus felt terrible. He couldn't save him. What about the other? Master Silvios is alive, but his vitals are unstable. He's currently being kept under close supervision, in critical care. I should have acted faster. It was foolish of you to act at all, Caseus. You nearly got yourself killed. If I hadn't been nearby, I'm sorry, Master Dravok, but I couldn't just let them suffer.
Caseus, your actions were rash, but you did save Master Silvios. I'm sure he will be extremely grateful to you when he recovers.
Caseus nodded. His head was still quite fuzzy. How long am I going to be here?
The doctors want to run a few more tests and give you a few days more to recover. I will be sure to visit daily to check up on you. In the meantime, you should rest. I won't be far if you need me. Master Drawback and I must report to the council now. We may have a lead on who's behind these attacks.
Thank you, Master. Please, keep me informed. The two masters left, leaving Corbyn and Caseus alone. Of all the stunts I pulled as their student, this one might have been the dumbest.
Hey, it's like you said. Stupidity and bravery aren't mutually exclusive. Surprised you made it as long as you did.
Yeah. There's something I'm wondering, though. The door closed on me before I could make it out. What happened?
I don't know. I was holding the switch to keep it from closing, but something shut it. I tried to get it open before Master Dravok arrived and cut through it.
Caseus began to speak when the door opened and Sarah walked in.
You're awake! I was beginning to think we'd never get that rematch. How are you feeling?
Terrible. I wasn't able to save Master Suka.
What's done is done. You can't change that. We should just be thankful you were able to save Master Silvius. Although some of the masters think it was a pretty boneheaded move on your part.
Hey, lay off. He was trying to save them.
What? I didn't say I thought it was stupid. I would have done the same thing. Anyway, I'm glad you're okay, Laserbrain. That was pretty noble.
Thanks, guys. Go on. I'll be okay. I just need to get some sleep.
Okay. We won't be far if you need us.
The following few days were difficult for Caseus as he recovered. Master Takai came every morning to teach, even though physical activity was out of the question. Aside from being confined to his bed, Caseus was most upset that he was missing his lessons with Master Drolig and the other students. After 6 days, Caseus was cleared to leave and return to his training, albeit under supervision to ensure that there was no lasting effects. 1 week after the attacks, Caseus noted that security around the temple had tightened immensely. Temple guards were now stationed at every entrance. Only fully trained knights and masters were allowed to leave, and even then they were searched upon return to the temple. This meant Caseus was unable to enjoy his free time by the temple steps, which upset him more than he cared to admit. As Caseus walked to the meditation chamber, he saw not Master Takai, but Master Drolig and Sarah. Caseus, given your recent stay in the medical wing, you've missed 3 classes and are now behind on your Form 3 lessons. However, given the circumstances, I've decided to give you a few personal sessions to help catch you up. Sarah here has volunteered to be your sparring partner during this time. Given your little rematch a while back, I'd like to remind you two to keep these sparring sessions civil. Of course, Master. Thank you. Now, let's head over to the training grounds. The 3 of them made their way outside, and Master Drolig began his lecture. Your master has informed me that you have already received a fair bit of instruction in Form 3,
Be that as it may, we will start with the basics to cover our bases.
Understood, Master.
Form 3 Sarisu is a purely defensive form, developed during an age where blasters became the primary weapon a Jedi would need to defend against. When one masters Sarisu, taking it to its highest level, said master is nearly untouchable. The primary goal of Sarisu, should you encounter an opponent wielding a lightsaber, is to allow your opponent to wear themselves out until an opening is found. Now, assume the stance.
Caseus stood, taking a traditional Form 3 stance, keeping his lightsaber in a guarded position. Throughout the lesson, he would go over much of what he already knew in regards to the blade work and footwork. There were a few things he did learn, though. For one, he never realized how passive the form truly was. It wasn't just about deflecting attacks, but directing them away in different directions. Running through the drills, the form began to feel far more fluid than ever before. In a strange way, it was almost soothing, like he was gently batting aside every problem in his life. All his concerns about the temple and its safety seemed to fall to the back of his mind with each movement of his blade.
Good, Caseus. Now, you will spar with Sarah utilizing what you have learned so far.
Caseus nodded and looked at Sarah, who was already in the center, eager to start. Both Padawans activated their weapons, Caseus assuming his Sarisu stance, and Sarah positioning herself in a Form 4 position. Caseus calmed his mind, taking slow, deep breaths and readying himself.
Begin.
Sarah flew towards Caseus, slashing at his shoulder with frightening agility. Caseus quickly moved his blade upward, deflecting her saber before bringing it back down to deflect another attack at his legs. This duel felt a lot less tense than their previous encounters, though he could tell Sarah wanted to win. It was etched into the intensely focused look in her eyes.
Concentrate, Caseus. Be mindful of your footwork. Your defensive prowess means nothing if you are caught off balance.
Caseus nodded, keeping his footing balanced and light. Sarah came forward again, sweeping her leg, trying to knock him off balance. Caseus avoided her sweep and jumped back, keeping his guard up as Sarah quickly shot back into position, slashing at his left shoulder. Caseus blocked as the fight continued over several minutes. With each block, Caseus could see a clear pattern in her attacks. She was fast and agile, but she was expending too much energy. Finally, as Sarah lunged once more for an overhead slash, Caseus saw his opportunity, deflecting the blade off to her side and swiftly moving his blade in front of her face.
That's enough. Well done, both of you. Caseus, you seem to have a natural affinity for this form. I believe you may have found a form suited to your skills.
Thank you, Master. It doesn't feel like skill, though. It just... I can't explain it exactly. It just feels calm. Like I'm in control.
I wouldn't exactly call constant defense under control.
On the contrary, Sarah. While you pressed the attack, he was forced into constant defense. However, Caseus used this to his advantage, and was able to locate patterns in your attack and more easily defend himself. You, on the other hand, expended too much energy and effort trying to gain the advantage. Patience and perseverance are paramount to not only utilizing Form 3, but countering it as well. Form 3 has no one weakness. However, an unpredictable or overwhelming opponent can render Form 3's defenses negligible.
Well, yeah, I guess. Okay, Caseus. You beat me. Don't let it get to your head. Form 4 is our next topic, and that's my specialty.
Well, I look forward to it. Thank you, Master.
Of course. Now off to your chamber, before sundown.
The Padawans nodded and walked through the hall out of the training grounds.
I don't like all the new security they've placed around here. This is getting ridiculous.
Well, you saw what happened. Dravok and the other masters are making sure this place is locked down to outsiders. Believe me, I hate it too. I wish I could find who's responsible for all this so we could get back to our normal lives. They won't even let me sit on the temple steps anymore because the temple guards are there.
I think there's more to what's going on than what we're being told.
Me too. But I guess we'll find out sooner or later. See you around.
Sure. See ya.
Caseus and Sarah parted, going their separate ways. Caseus was about to walk up the steps when he heard a voice.
Caseus!
Caseus looked over his shoulder and saw Master Silvios out of the medical wing, still recovering, using a walking stick, but alive. Master Silvios! It's good to see you out of the medical bay. How are you feeling?
I've been better, but I would have been far worse off if it weren't for you. I owe you my life, Padawan.
You don't owe me anything, Master. I was just trying to do the right thing. So, what happened in there?
I'm afraid I don't have many answers, Caseus. Master Suka and I were analyzing the bomb that had been placed in the archives. The weapon was inactive, or so we believed. As we were analyzing samples of DNA collected from the device, it went off.
But how? If it had been disarmed, it shouldn't have just gone off, especially with professionals like you and Master Suka overseeing it.
My only guess is that the weapon had a failsafe, some kind of charge that would be activated remotely if the primary charge had been deactivated.
You said you found DNA samples. Were you able to match them to anyone?
The samples were regrettably wiped from our system shortly after the attacks, and we were unable to discern who had left them. All we know is that the DNA was that of a Trandoshan.
Trandoshan? What cause would they have to attack us?
I'm not sure, Caseus. The Jedi have many enemies across the galaxy, but we must be cautious. Trandoshans are hunters by nature, and stealthy too. I've informed Temple Security and Master Dravok of our findings. He and his men are doing everything they can to uncover this plot. That's all I know. Now, I must return to my quarters and get some rest. Thank you again, Caseus. Master Suka's death will not have been in vain.
Of course. Rest easy, Master. Caseus returned to his quarters and began writing down everything he knew about these events. There was something not right. Something missing. Suddenly, there was a tapping at his window. Huh? Caseus turned, surprised to see Sarah sitting on the ledge of his window. Caseus opened it up. Sarah, what are you doing out past curfew? And how did you get up here?
Shh! Quiet! I want to show you something. Come on.
What, out the window?
No, out the door, stupid. Of course out the window. Just follow me.
Sarah moved out of view from the window as Caseus followed her. His room was fairly high up above the streets below. He never had an issue with heights, provided he had something between him and the fall. This was different. Slowly and surely he followed Sarah as they crept along the ledge, staying out of view of the other windows until they came to a very old-looking ladder leading up to the wall of the temple.
This way.
Caseus followed her up the ladder until they reached the roof of the Jedi Temple. I've never been up here before.
I come up here a lot to think. I guess you could say this place is my temple steps. Of course, I gotta be careful with all the extra security these days.
Caseus walked behind her, looking over the city skyline as the sun slowly cast its last shining rays over the horizon. Sarah sat on the edge, and Caseus sat next to her. I talked to Master Silvios. Apparently the bomb was handled by Trandoshans before it came here.
You think they were hired to do it? Or is there some rogue group trying to cause trouble?
I don't know, but I think there's more to this whole thing than we think. So much of this doesn't make sense.
Well, maybe we should try to figure it out. Temple security certainly seems to be taking their sweet time.
What? You mean try to solve this thing ourselves?
Sure, why not? We're being attacked by Trandoshans, or at the very least someone using Trandoshan weaponry. That's a start. Already we know nearly as much about these attacks as our masters. If we can find out what Dravok knows, we could piece together more information that might lead us to the culprit.
How do you expect us to do that? We can't just walk in and ask Master Dravok to tell us what he knows.
What about your friend Corbyn? He spent a lot of time with Master Dravok. Surely he knows something at least.
Sarah, we're just students. We're stepping into something way bigger than we can handle.
We might be students, but you and I both know that the Coruscant police and our Jedi investigators aren't doing everything they could be. Besides, I've seen you in a fight. You can handle yourself, okay?
Well, thanks. I don't know. I'll think about it. Give me a few days to mull it over.
Don't take too long. We don't know when another attack could go off.
Sarah stood up and went over to the ladder before turning around.
I meant what I said, by the way. You're a good fighter.
Sarah went down the ladder, leaving Caseus staring off into the evening.